formally start, because I always like to start with a short breathing meditation. And, we've been talking about breathing, and how important it is to have good air quality, how difficult it is if the moment you get outside, your nose starts running and you're just allergic to the entire environment. And so just as it's a struggle with our external environment, just sometimes breathing the air, the samsaric air that we have with all of its complexities, uh, the internal environment too. We don't want to be allergic to our own internal environment. And often we can be. I remember all the way through my 20s, I just felt like I was at civil war inside, just everything at loggerheads, everything contradictory, being pulled in all different directions, not knowing what to do, not even being able to recognize, is this a toxic environment or not? Am I just so used to it? All of that, so that the disruptive inner environment actually is far worse than an external one. At least with an external one, we've got this nice biofeedback loop where we can tell if we're sick or not, and our body just, goes haywire. Well, with our mind, it's a bit trickier to tell what's going on. We blank out a lot of it, and then we come to something like this, and we sit down to do a nice breathing meditation, and it's like all hell goes loose in our mind. But it's just because it's like getting out of the car and getting into the atmosphere that you were talking about, Shayla, and then you get all of the dust particles and everything in the atmosphere, and suddenly your nose starts running. So here we sit down to meditate, and our metaphorical nose starts running. Our mind starts running. Our mind starts running in every single direction. It's like, what's happening? Well, we're probably just allergic to all of that inner toxicity of disturbing emotions and past traumas and habits and the whole concoction together. What we can do is clear our mind. So that's what we can do to start with the 9-round breathing. So this is like, instead of, the nasal spray, this is our nasal spray for the mind. So I will get our little screen share up just to help us to trigger an experience in this nice informal Be Your Own Therapist class, and the 9-round breathing. So let's get settled. A very simple way to adjust our posture is just to straighten your spine. If you are leaning back on a chair or a wall, then just make sure that your lower back is supported, and that what we want is that your spine, it's unkinked, that it's fairly straight, so that all of our energy can flow without getting stuck. And then just have your head slightly tilted forward and pull the chin in, and then that will help stop any coughing fits. Then your eyes lightly closed, gently closed. So actually some lights can still come in, and then that way we don't just think we're going back to sleep again, but relaxed, eyes relaxed. And tongue on the upper palate behind the top teeth with a relaxed jaw. And as we settle our posture, then naturally we're bringing our focus inwards. Just for a moment or two, become aware of the natural rhythm of the breath. And as you bring your focus to the breath, inadvertently you'll become aware of everything else that's going on in the mind, the hubbub, the thoughts, the feelings, the inner and outer distractions. Don't worry about any of it. Just bring your focus to the breath. Leave everything else on the periphery. Don't even try get rid of it. Just a little bit like when we're watching TV, we don't worry about what's going on in the rest of the house. So now we just watch the breath. And to give our mind a deep cleanse with the 9-round breathing. Breathing out, imagine you're breathing out through your left nostril and you're breathing out all of the inner toxicity in the form of black smoke, all of the distractions, the disturbing thoughts, all of the things that cause us those inner allergies. Breathe them out, release them. All those fine particulate matter, even the very fine and subtle disturbances and distorted states of mind, breathe them out in the form of black smoke. And then there's a vacuum. So then naturally, as you breathe in, feel that you absorb all of the enlightened qualities, that you breathe in golden light that just floods through your whole system, cleansing, clarifying, energizing. So 3 times, out through the left nostril and in through the right, long, leisurely breaths. And then when you've completed the first 3, then the next 3, swapping the nostrils over, this time from the right-hand nostril, breathing out all of the disturbing emotions, all of the distractions, all the tiredness and illness, all the causes of our suffering in the form of black smoke, releasing it all. Might even come out in great big splurts and splutters. How good it is, how good it feels for it to leave your system. And then as you naturally breathe in, all of the enlightening qualities of wisdom, understanding, memory, patience and tolerance, kindness and affection, open-mindedness, all flood into you in the form of golden light that fills your entire being. So the nostrils swapped over 3 times. So we've dealt with the coarse ones. Now, for the final 3, as you breathe out through both nostrils, really feel that you're breathing out even the very small negativities, the very fine and subtle ones, all the habit patterns. The smoke begins to get thinner. And as you breathe in through both nostrils, again, every atom of your being becomes energized and radiant as you absorb the enlightening qualities. So through both nostrils 3 times. And when you've completed those 9 rounds, staying with that feeling of being clear and clarified, your body radiant, your mind clear and alert. And we can recognize that just by being here at a class like this, just meeting together online like this, that we are actually already contributing to peace and harmony in the world. Because the only way that we can do that is one person at a time, each individual, setting our mind with the very best motivation to create peace and harmony within our own mind and all around us. And may we have the strength to do that in the very best possible way, so we can actually, well, perfectly help all living beings. And that's why we're here today, to be able to actually strengthen our system like that, so that then what we do out in the world is effective, has a long-reaching results, the results that we're looking for of harmony and peace. So with that motivation, here we are meeting again online. How wonderful. And just before we started, Shayla and I were talking about all various nose sprays and things for dealing with allergies. And it's funny, isn't it, how we have so many more allergies now in the world. It's very easy to become allergic, to become inflamed by our environment. And normally what we do, isn't it, when we're inflamed or agitated, we just scratch the itch. We just make it worse. And we just see that all around us, don't we? So it really struck me that just meeting like this online, trying to be our own therapist, is like it can be like a cooling balm. Instead of just making things more inflamed, we're going in the opposite direction, cooling it all down, and then we can be a really good uh, influence in our environment. Anyway, just riffing on a theme. Is that how does that help, Shayla?
I think um, I think it's you're hitting the nail on the head when it comes to the toxins in our environment, whether they're people or stuff like social media or the news. I'm finding, all of these things, as you've been talking, that have been hitting me, um, the things that I really should remove from my environment, um, kind of put in the air purifier in my little room and get rid of some of these toxic, whether it's toxic people, the toxic. I really need to put social media down. Um,
Yeah, we can only take social media in short doses. I tell you what, otherwise we get very quickly overwhelmed. Well, at least I know I do. So I have a little dip in, and then I can feel my temperature rising, and then I know it's time to get out, because otherwise I'll lose it. And I suppose what our air purifier is the four immeasurable thoughts. That's our inner air purifier. And just like you want to have an air purifier going in the morning really strong, if things are bad, you have it going all day in the background. So I suppose for our inner air purifier, we need that going all day in the background for immeasurable thoughts. I think may all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings never be separated from the happiness that is without suffering. And may all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from the bias of attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. So that's like turning the system on. And it's a fantastic way to focus our mind, whether you're religious or not, whether you're this religion or that religion. this is universal. This doesn't require belief. It's universally we can relate to it. Of course, there is a really deep Buddhist understanding of these four immeasurables, but I find this is the place to start. And at the beginning of every single puja, this is what we do. This is how we adjust our motivation, should be our motivation for it. And so the aim is that then when we're watching the news or imbibing the poison of social media into our system, every time a negativity arises, the aim is that it triggers one of these boundless thoughts. So if someone's being all clingy, or needy, wanting all sorts of likes or pushing stupid influencer things or whatever, then it triggers this thought, may beings abide in equanimity. May they have the peace of equanimity. Or if somebody is being really hateful, it triggers the thought, may they be free of suffering. May they be free of all of the fractiousness, the intimidation, the fear, the loneliness that leads to that anger. So that's a big ask, isn't it? That we see negativity and it triggers our compassion. That's what we're aiming at. So I suppose, Shayla, if we turn the air purifier of the four immeasurable attitudes on in the morning and then have a little dip into social media and practice it with this kind of awareness. So then
I like that idea.
you
I
like,
really do. Yeah. I'm
yeah,
gonna
so
do
I've
something because I can get awfully judgy, um, judgmental. Oh,
yeah,
good Lord. What is she thinking? Oh, yeah.
yeah, I don't suffer fools for one, and then I get really annoyed at the baddies, and then when something bad happens to them, then I gloat. It's terrible. I think that's a really bad inner system happening right there just for me. Of course, it doesn't have any effect on them. They don't even know it's happening, but I'm toxifying my own system. So I realized that I don't want that toxicity. And also, as things get worse and more fractious, I've become aware, of course, we have a fractious result back. That's just normal. We mirror it. Someone's angry, presents an angry face, we get angry back. We just throw it back at them. So that's a whole toxic allergy reaction as well. And it inflames me. And then that's no good. So I don't want to be inflamed. I can't bear that feeling. So that's been my first incentive to try and cool down. So I've really now instead of going, oh, what an idiot, I I do click into, may they be free of their suffering. Because people only act badly because they're suffering. And people only act destructively, they only harm others. All of that really scary and destructive behavior comes from unhappiness. It's just that it doesn't look like it does. It looks like it comes from power and anger and maliciousness and all of that. But all of that underneath that is just hurt and pain and suffering. But we can't see it. It's not in the appearance. So that's the bridge I've been trying to build because that's the most important one, that we don't get reactive back, because that's what we see on social media and what we've seen with the riots in England at the moment is that meeting anger with anger, it just clearly makes everything worse. Now there's, a travel advisory for the UK. So uh, we can't meet the allergen with more of the same. We've got to put in this cooling balm, something that cools it down. And that's really recognizing that all of that agitation, all of that negativity comes from unhappiness. So that can be our aim, right? That we every time we watch the news and we see a terrible thing, our aim is that it triggers our great compassion.
I'm just trying to figure out how I can have that reminder every single day. And my mind is just going to, like, maybe there's a something on my, a wallpaper where it has the 4 measurables, like, hey,
Oh,
don't fall
yes.
into this nonsense type stuff.
Yeah, so what me and Eddie have been doing, we got a thing, a Google Nest, Google Pebble thing. So it's a little thing that sits on the wall, and deep within it is a thing called Family Bell. And you just can't find where the setting is anywhere, except I just asked AI, and AI told me how to find the setting. So I was able to set it that you can have all these little bells that go off, reminders. So we've got it to set to remind us to have a glass of water. Um, but what I've done is I've built it into the Dharma. So when it wakes us up at 8 o'clock in the morning, it says, "Arise, arise from the Dharmakaya blue." And then when it's time to have a glass of water, it says something like the clean, clarifying glass of water and the cooling nectar of bodhicitta. So so throughout the day, and so Eddie's like, "Well, we've got to have a glass of water every 2 hours." They reckon. I'm like, "Well, that's a bit excessive," but um, I think we've got it set 3 times within a 24 hours that it tells us to have a glass of water, and at the same time to remember our bodhicitta.
I really like that. And that's not a horrible reminder. It's like, oh, I take out my trash, or, oh, I've got to drag my can to the street, or, yeah, no,
So
something's,
what would you say? What would you say for taking out the trash? What Dharma thing? It's got to be
oh,
within. It's got to be a certain amount of letters. So it's great. It gives you parameters. Like you're only allowed X amount of words. Take out time to take out the trash. Take out the what?
oh.
Miffi, what is that thing called that does all of this?
Oh, it's part of something called Google Nest, but I think there's different brands that do it. And so it's a little speaker that sits on your desk or on your wall that is through the Wi-Fi, uh, and it
So
just
you
gives
have to
you
have
reminders.
Wi-Fi? You have to have Wi-Fi in your house?
Uh, yeah, you can do it through your phone as well. So
Oh.
it can just come up on your phone and tell you.
Or even just setting an alarm. I would think you can
Yeah, setting
set
an
out
alarm.
alarms.
So anything. So this one, we just got Google Nest just because it was on special. So I don't know. There's all different types of reminders, but the thing is that you have it built in. We use these systems, instead of just being always distracted by emails, we use the systems to help us. And that takes a bit of pre-planning. Because otherwise, of course, you get up, you look at the emails, the next thing you're off, you've been on social media for too long, haven't had a chance to set your motivation, and the day is upon you, and now we're frazzled to start. I mean, that's terrible, isn't it? How many times have we done that? So at least let's
Every
use
day.
the systems to help us. And if you've got a reminder on your phone, even when it says take out the bins, take out the bins, it's like that saying, take out the bins, take out the negativities, take out the grasping at inherent existence. So back in the day, that story of the the monk that he was so distracted that when people would tell him things about Dharma or about even just how to organize life, he must have had ADHD so badly because he would forget the beginning of the sentence by the time they got to the end of the sentence. That's how bad it was. Like they use this story as an extreme example, and I'm like, I know people like this. I know people that are so pressured and have ADHD that by the time you get to the end of the sentence, they have no idea what the beginning was about, and that's their whole day. So this is a thing, but it's not a new thing. It's been around at least since the time of the Buddha. And so the Buddha just perfectly met the situation where it was and said, okay, so your practice, don't worry, your practice is just to sweep up around the shoes where everyone takes their shoes off before they go into the gompa, and just say, you know, dust out, dirt out, meaning dust out, you know, inner dirt out. As I'm cleaning the dust out here, I'm cleaning the dust out of my mind. But even just the sentence that long was no good. So it was dust out, dirt out, whatever, you know, translation. So everybody else in the monastery just thought this monk was hopeless. No, he can't do anything. And now he's been told to just clean the area around the shoes, which is pretty low down in status. Anyway, as he was doing it, his mind got happier. And after a while, those inner obstructions were cleared. And I think he became really famous and a really great scholar within that lifetime. So I like it because, well, it's funny, I can't remember his name or what famous scholar he was, but there you go. Clearly I need to do some more practice. But it's right there. This is an example for the times. So we have this really simple thing of bins out, afflictions out. Like Lama Zopa Rinpoche says, the inner enemy of the disturbing emotions is far more dangerous than any external enemy. So you can have something like with coming up with social media of it's not that external enemy, it's the inner enemy. I think Lama Zopa Rinpoche also had a whole lot of little sayings that FPMT put out about in these beautiful frames with flowers around them. We've got them all stuck up near where people take their shoes off. So they always have to stand there while they're holding on, trying not to fall over, and look at these little sayings. I think some other centres have them as you walk down the driveway. And they're these real short one-liners. So, yeah.
I remember the Miffi when I came to the centre once, and I took photos of them when I was taking in the bathroom.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I mean,
something about those kind of places when you don't expect to see something like that, it really goes in. It really goes into your mind. Those
yeah, because you haven't put up any barriers to it. Yeah, it goes in. That's a great point, Shah. So the unexpected like that. So we did cop a little bit of flack. You know, Langri Tangpa Centre, and me in particular, I'm always in trouble about something. So if I am in trouble about something, it's a good sign in a way. So we copped a bit of flack because here's Lama Zopa Rinpoche's beautiful sayings with the shoes.
Oh, no.
But again, you know, it's just context, and you're right. It goes in. It's like stealth dharma, you know, it just goes in before you even know. And you see it again and again.
Yeah.
Right when you're relaxed.
Yeah. There was something about that. Yeah. And put him, and it really went in because of that. So very good.
Great. Excellent. And Susan, so have you got any ideas how you could use it in your life? What any devices you could
just apply? Put sticky notes around, like that say breathe. And that's the main thing I do, actually. Yeah, we do need those reminders. We really do. We need those reminders. And
but more than breathe, because you've got to make it Dharma. So maybe make it breathe bodhicitta.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, we've got to start with the initial thought, but then this is another habit that we have to cultivate, that we turn it into Dharma. So a lot of the first thoughts that we have are just about calming down, calming the mind down, focusing, not making things worse, trying to do life maintenance mindfully and not distractedly. But actually, that's a very short-term practice, and that's why we have to continually do it and maintain it, and why we fall off the wagon so easily, because there's no depth in that. And the depth that we need is to make it pure Dharma. So Eddie was just talking about this in the class the other day, and it really hit me again that pure Dharma means that it's not just for this life. So it's not just for our immediate problem, but it's with a really big perspective. And actually, the big perspective is that it's for what happens after this life, what happens next. It's for the future and the long-term future. So actually, if we're just thinking about now, it's not even a spiritual practice. It's a worldly practice, because it's just about the world now, and it's just informed by this really short-term experience. So that's a really good starting point. But in popular culture, that's where it ends. That's where everybody seems to stop. And I've noticed in a Dharma center, that's the starting point, but we've got to take it further to make it actually pure Dharma. And if we do, then it becomes really powerful. So where I've noticed this really works is, when we have pujas and we go around the group and at the end and have some group dedications, and people put in dedications, and often this is why they've come to the puja. May my cat have a perfect human rebirth, or may my cat recover from the illness. May my fighting siblings be free of their fractiousness, or may I find a house, somewhere to live before the landlord throws me out. So these really intense experiences that we have in our life, that's usually what we're so desperate we'll do anything. So we come to puja, we ask people to dedicate for us, and it's a good starting point because it's really heartfelt. It's really immediate. We're not just pretending. It's there. We're feeling it. And so, but it's not Dharma. And so if we leave it at that, it just creates more causes for samsara and being stuck in it. It's a nice thought, but it doesn't get us out of the problem. So to make it Dharma, we have to adjust it. And so this is what I like, that you start where you are. You start with that really intense personal experience, and then you use the momentum of that emotion. You use the momentum of the experience to make it Dharma, to make it pure Dharma. And so you can adjust it. So you kind of go, instead of just may I find a house, somewhere to live, it's like, just like I need somewhere safe to live now, may I find the peace of nirvana. And may I bring everybody else to that state. So may I actually become a Buddha to lead everybody to a state where they can be safe.
Well, I'm just thinking about the Shanti Davis beautiful prayer where, so maybe add to when you're taking a drink of water, say, may all beings have find water and delicious drink. That's
That's
easy,
right.
because it's right there.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you have when you're having your glass of water, they all, as I have a glass of, put it on your reminder. Have a glass of water. May all beings enjoy delicious drinks. That's right. So that's really nice. Then at least it's then creating a big generosity, big loving kindness, big compassion. But it's still not pure Dharma. Because we've got to
what
be.
would it be like if to say something like breathe golden light, if that makes you think of like Vajrasattva meditation, where the golden light dissolves through your body and in a way meant to bring peace, to yourself and to others. And even though it's kind of vague, and you would have to have that mental association.
Yeah, that's right. So I would make it easy for yourself and be explicit. So because if you just breathe golden light, then it's amorphous, and it's going to have at best an amorphous result. So we can use the technology to help us be really clear and specific, and that way we bring it into reality by naming it. So breathe Vajrasattva purity. Breathe bodhicitta. Breathe golden enlightenment. In a way, what we're doing is we're being our own prompt engineers, aren't we? So just like it's all the rage now, the most important is to have a good prompt. And the way to have a good prompt is to be absolutely specific, to say what we mean and mean what we say. And so that helps us clarify our own wisdom, discriminating awareness.
But Miffi, what about being very metaphoric? Because that's very powerful. If you just produce an image, that produces a very powerful reaction in the mind. And metaphors are not explicit.
No, that's right, but they do contain things. So I think we need a few more hints in there. Otherwise, it's going to have a danger of if we don't bring our mind to the meaning, one day when we're really tired, we'll forget. And then the next day it makes it more likely that we'll forget as well. So maybe changing the prompts around a little bit. And I mean, one of the biggest and most inspiring metaphors is to remember our guru, isn't it? So just like one of our little go-to phrases is, what would the Dalai Lama do? And that brings up so much, doesn't it? But it's an explicit metaphor. So again, breathe. I think it needs more. Otherwise, it's in danger of coming back to a worldly thing. But you'll have to find the one that actually brings that has the result for you, because everyone's going to be different. I mean, it's kind of like even when we say mantras, they are explicit in a way. They connect us. The Manjushri mantra connects us with wisdom. The compassion, Chenrezig mantra connects us with great compassion. So they are they're kind of delineated a little bit more than just the Dharmakaya. So our little sayings have to have a little bit in there to get us off in the right direction. Just to make it easier, I think. One of the ones that I found, I did it in one of the everyday Dharma classes, was I have a cup of coffee every morning. Without fail, I have a cup of coffee. I don't necessarily set my motivation every morning. That's pretty bad, isn't it? But coffee I do. So now what I've got is, have I got my coffee? Have I got my kindness? It's good. It's a one-liner. It's a little bit corny, but it's right in there. And I'm sure I could remember it if I was delirious with the flu or really tired. It's still in there. Someone else who drives a car, if you leave the house, so you've got keys. Have I got my keys? Have I got my kindness? Or compassion? Either one works really nicely. Coffee and compassion. So,
I
Susan,
added,
what are some of the things that you do every day without fail that would be nice to add a one-liner like this to?
When I pet my dog, which is very often, say, may all dogs live in peace.
Ah, yes. So, one of the things with dogs in particular, it's in Lama Zopa Rinpoche's advice of how to practice guru devotion. Uh, and he talks about uh, dogs, how they have incredible guru devotion, don't they? They're a real inspiration. They never hold a grudge. They love you unconditionally. You can rely on that. They enjoy serving you and looking after you. So all of this. So every time you pet your dog, you can go, thanks to all the dogs, may I perfect my guru devotion, just like you have got your dogly devotion. And then you could do a prayer for all the dogs, just like you have, may you meet perfectly qualified Mahayana gurus, so that you can have your perfect devotion with a perfect guru. And then when you pat them, then you can think, may my hand be the connector between the dog and the guru.
Or the dog could be the guru.
Well,
Dogs can be a guru.
that's right. That's like the
We can
story with
learn
Maitreya.
compassion from them. We learn love and compassion directly from them
Yeah,
in better
yeah,
behavior.
that's right. Yeah, often very spontaneously, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, so that story of of Maitreya, isn't it? Who was there the whole time, this other monk who was doing a retreat. And he's like, I've been meditating all this time and I've never seen you. I've never seen you, Buddha. And I don't know, what else can I do? And he I don't think he gave up, but he got really disconsolate about it. And I think he was doing some errand walking along the road and he saw that dog. You probably know this story. He a really sick dog on the road, and immediately his heart breaking for the suffering of this uh, animal. And so he went to help it, and it was so injured that there were maggots and things like that. So pretty disgusting. But his heart was so open from doing these practices that he also felt sorry for the maggots. It's like, and this is the whole samsaric conundrum, isn't it? You go to help one bunch of beings and then you realize, oh no, there's this other bunch of beings. So who do I help? Like, we're all stuck. So then he tried to help the dog and the maggots without having any favoritism, just equally is heartbreaking for all of them and so I think very, very delicately without harming anybody's little bodies or anything like that. And so I think he was actually moving the maggots with his tongue so that there wouldn't be any roughness. You'd be living in a cave, your hands are probably a bit rough from working with things. And so when he did that, then Maitreya, the dog transformed into Maitreya. appeared directly in front of him. And Maitreya kind of said, well, and he's like, where have you been? Where have you been? You know, I was just about to give up my whole retreat. The whole time I've been praying for you to appear. And Maitreya's like, I've been there the whole time. But you couldn't see, of course, because he couldn't get through that experience. So yes, Susan, you're very right. Like, we can't tell until we're enlightened, we can't tell quite who that dog or that cat is. I know I have a very close relationship with my cats. You know, they do a good job as part of the house. And you know, many of the lamas say you can dedicate for your pets too. So any joy that they bring us, we can dedicate on their behalf. So it's so difficult for animals to make merit. It's because most of their life is built around hunting, eating other animals, or just sleeping. So it's really hard for animals to make enough merit to get out of the animal realm. But if they have the opportunity not just to be in a household where they're helping others, or a guide dog or something like that, if they happen to be in a Dharma household, then we can dedicate for them. And that's, again, we can become there connected to the Dharma. So very nice point that you brought up, Susan. So the other thing we can do for our pets as well, there are some of those mantras that Rinpoche prepared that liberate on seeing. So I've blue tacked them above the bowl where we feed the cats. So just like Shah, when we go in and put our shoes on the shoe rack and we can't help but sing the saint. So it's kind of like the same thing with the cats. They go to eat their food and they can't help but see this mantra that liberates on sight. So we could do things like that as well. Of course, I see the mantra too when I put the food down. So it's skillful means for me. So yes, so we've got our reminders. When you have the alarm to get up, you know, and it says by default on the phone, it says good morning or something, time to get up. So you can go, arise for all sentient beings. You could even go a step further and go, as you get up for all sentient beings, may you lead them into enlightenment. But I don't know if the alarm's got enough space for that. But just pick a couple of things and start working with those, and then that kind of will help build our immune system. Because it does seem like the world gets more and more fractious and worse every day. But I think it's always been like that. I mean, it's in waves, like it's tidal, sometimes a bit more manifest than others, but it's always been a dangerous place. Samsara is a dangerous place to be. So we've got to be the safe ones. We've got to create the safety around us for everybody. And whether we actually go out into the world or whether we spend our entire time at home, doesn't matter. What's happening in our mind has an effect on the environment. So if we're creating a peaceful environment in our own mind and in our own home, that has an effect just on day-to-day life, on the environment around you, on the neighbors. It also means that you're ready. If anything goes wrong, you're ready to help. If there's a neighborly emergency, you won't be shy, you'll be ready to help because your mind's already primed. And you know, a lot of that practice, I'm sure there are many meditators in caves around the world and apartments around the world that are strongly meditating on loving kindness and compassion and bodhicitta. And we are experiencing the benefits of that. We don't even know it. They're like being air purifiers for everybody. So that's something that we've got to start on as well. If we want a peaceful world, we've got to get really practice at being peaceful so that when we go out into the environment, we're strong and we stay peaceful in the face of adversity. So who knew all of this could come from just a simple air purifier or nasal spray? I mean, another thing that we could do is as you spray the nose, the stuff up your nose, it's like by spraying this spray up my nose, may I not get up the nose of anybody? May I not get up anybody's nose?
Can I mind my own business? Keep my nose out of everybody's business.
That's right. Keep your nose out of everybody else's business. That's excellent. So all of these really corny sayings, like they become really useful. And all of those corny sayings, they're there because they are folk wisdom in a way, even if they're a bit cliched. The reason they've stuck around is because they have some depth to them. So we can bring the depth, we can use that, we can piggyback on that momentum that's already there. The other thing that we can do, so I sometimes wear earplugs when I go out, so they get very affected by all the noises. So whether you wear earplugs or wear earrings, I remember Lama Zopa Rinpoche saying that your ears are made to hear problems. And so when you put the earrings on, then may you be beautified with the perfection of patience. And same with putting your headphones on or your earplugs in. May by doing this, may I achieve the perfection of patience. So again, so then instead of it being like, oh, everybody get away from me, now you're using your sensitivity to help develop a really good characteristic patience, and not even just ordinary patience, but perfection of patience informed by bodhicitta and wisdom. You know, the whole thing can grow from that. If we piggyback on it, the everyday Dharma training. So Rinpoche called it everyday Dharma. So it's the everyday, and we've got to make it pure Dharma. Otherwise, there's actually no point. You know, we may as well be dead. So whatever we're doing on the everyday, we've got to make it pure Dharma. And so that just means extending the view to being what happens, not just in this life and not just this week, that really short term. What's going to happen next? What's going to happen next for other people? Out of samsara, free of samsara, all the way to enlightenment. Then it's Dharma. So just to tie it up, like when we do the dedications at puja, for a long time, Eddie was the only one that would say, by doing this puja, may we all become enlightened for the benefit of every single living being. And everybody else would go, I hope I find a house to live, or I hope I get a job. And so then slowly, over a year or two, we've been able to start piecing it together. May I find a job so that I can be supported in my Dharma practice and become enlightened in this very lifetime for the benefit of all sentient beings. So our group dedications have become quite long-winded now, but it's really inspiring. We're getting the hang of it. And it's important to train in words like that. The words help direct our mind until it becomes instinctual. But how we start off is by using the words, really simple ones. Always include enlightenment in there. So do you think you'll be able to have something to work with, Susan, this week?
Yes, I do. I think so.
I do too.
Okay, and then we can jump in when we can do a little bit of thought transformation, that when we do get an allergy or whatever it is, we can go, oh, great, now I can practice. Now I can do the nose thing. So just a few of those things. The ones that I've managed to piggyback in my life, they've been there for years now, and it's great because what it means is that you don't need to put any effort in. Once the momentum gets going, then every time you have a nose thing or put a spray up your nose, all the rest of the Dharma will kick in. So we just need a few of those to start with, and they'll keep going. So are there any last comments, suggestions, questions?
Miffi, one of the things I'm going to be thinking about is saying a mantra when I put food down for the dog, but a meaningful, like you said, more explicit. So I'm going to be working on that.
Mm. Yeah, and
that's a great idea. Thank you.
with the food as well, because it's a great association to build into the animal's life, because they want the food. So if they associate any Dharma mantra with the food, it gets wired together. So years ago there was a Lama in Brisbane. He was resident in one of the Buddhist centers here, and he had equal care and attention for everybody in the house. The fish, the dog, the humans, the babies, everybody. Complete equanimity. It was amazing. And he would help all of these beings all the time. And so his attendants was saying that he walked into the room and the Lama's hanging out the window uh, and outside the window is the rubbish bin and the rubbish bin lid, and there's a rope tied to the handle of the rubbish bin lid. And so the Lama's hanging out the window with this rope. And what he's done is he's put the dog in the rubbish bin and put the lid on, and then run upstairs. And then as he lifts the lid and the dog jumps out, the Lama's saying, "Om Mani Padme Hum." So he's jumping out of samsara to this Om Mani Padme Hum. Anyway, the dog got the hang of it, and so he really liked it. So he'd kind of be hanging around the rubbish bin, and then they'll put him in the rubbish bin and close the lid, and then Mani, and he liberated. So really simple things. This Lama, he knew how to communicate on the level of the being that was going to really help. And just that, I was thinking, yeah, from dark to light, jumping up to the Lama, what that is wiring together is just spectacular. Anyway, so this Lama, Kidro Rinpoche, he was amazing. The pet that they had was a goldfish. And they actually came to one of the meditation classes crying with their goldfish in the bowl because the goldfish was like swimming sideways. And we get attached even to goldfish get attached to us. Anyway, so Kita Rinpoche just grabbed the bowl and put it down and said mantras, and the fish just started swimming around, and he saved the goldfish. And so that had a really interesting effect because some of the humans are like, well, he saved the goldfish. Why isn't he saving me? But what really stuck with me was this. He had like continuous good-heartedness and compassion, like a beam of light at his heart. And wherever there were sentient beings, it just alighted on that sentient being without favoritism, without bias. Every living being was important. And if they came into his presence, he helped them. It was amazing. So that can be our aim, hey? At least every being that comes into our presence is important, and we shine that beam of kindness and at them, and then use our wisdom of what's the best way to actually get through. And then our pets become really important because they're our practice ground. They help us practice and experiment until we get it right. Particularly dogs, because I just love whatever you do. So, we're not going to have fear of failure there. Anyway, it's just past the hour, and so we should dedicate in this way, just as we've been discussing, and all of these thoughts now percolating around our mind. May we really come up with the very best Dharma solutions, so that our everyday life becomes Dharma, becomes part of that path to enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, and nothing less. Thank you, everybody. Take care. See you next week.
Thank you, Miffi. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Nailed it again. Thank you.